one-pager from everyone. For those of you who have not done your bios, I need to have those as well, and I will be reaching out to you personally if you have not submitted a bio for me.
Is there a difference between a retail and shakedown at this point?
Is that the bio that's in the launch, the circle launch
Yes.
thing?
Yep.
We have a table.
Awesome. But we're wanting to get out as much information about your businesses as we can, because it's one of those things that I'm sure you guys are coming to realize. You don't ever know where that next contact or next person is going to come from. So in order to be able to connect with them, we have to have the information in order to be able to deliver it.
It's next to me to like let him in. It's not there.
I'll go and wait for him. Did you see what door?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. Well, he's been here for the last 6 weeks, so you figured he'd come through the same door. But you know what? Never assume
I
anything.
couldn't get it here, so I was online. But,
All right, we're gonna
it was super
start kicking off.
Yeah, the paper airplane thing.
All right, listen up. I do have something I can throw at you, so this is one of the things this week, okay? All right, so some of you may or may not know I've been a competitive fencer for a good 40 years. I was on the Olympic squad for the United States for the '96 Olympics. Now, one of the things that a lot of people don't know is fencing has basically had this, war with itself for the last, say, 30 years about being pro and trying to be like the NFL, the NBA, the MLB. And one of the big things that was always a thing is, well, fencing can never be popular in the United States because it's not on television. We don't have sponsors. Okay, great. So as going through that whole process and learning all those things in the 90s, I was like, okay, well, these are just obstacles. You just overcome them. From that aspect, everybody's like, well, you can't get fencing on television. Wrong. You can always buy airtime and put whatever you want on television, providing it doesn't violate certain SEC regulations. So the next thing is getting it on television. I got it on television in Saratoga Springs, ran a pro event. Best $500,000 I ever lost in my entire life. From that aspect, that resulted in then the international body going, okay, this dumb idiot proved that you could put fencing on television. We need to make it more visually appealing. And they invented this, okay? This is a mask that has a Lexane visor. For those of you who don't know what Lexane is, this is the same stuff that bulletproof glass is made of. So their thing is, well, if it can deflect bullets, then if a sword hits it, then it shouldn't go through and kill the person, okay? Like it did in the 1950 Olympics in Canada, where it went through the mask, the guy's eyeball and out the back of his head and killed him, okay? Which is why all of the masks have passed an international standard. Now, the one thing that they didn't do as far as customer discovery, okay? Everybody, this is great. The television can look in the person, see that person's face, that anguish of defeat, that thrill of victory. The thing they didn't realize is I'm running up and down the strip at 100 miles an hour trying to beat the shit out of somebody or avoid getting the shit beat out of me, the mask fogs up. This presents a small problem. If any of you that drive are going down the highway and your window fogs up and you're moving at 60 miles an hour down a windy road, this presents a problem, okay? So what they didn't do is they didn't do enough customer discovery. They didn't put this on some fencers to go, okay, I want you to use this and see how well this works. They tested it for safety. Okay, great. They tested it for the camera, but they didn't actually give it to the fencers and go use this and tell me why this doesn't work. Okay? In so much that they wound up at one of the World Cups having one of the French guys go, not only is this bad for seeing, but it's unsafe. And they're like, what do you mean? And he put it on a chair, he took his epee, and he wound up, and he put it right through the Lexane in the mask. And everyone was like, oh my God, couldn't you do that with a regular wire mesh mask? And he was like, yes, you could, but that would just be impolite. So,
he used his essay, his friend.
It was French.
yeah.
His
So,
essay?
huh?
His Mexican friend, he used his essay.
No, epee. Oh, epee. chef to prepare the meal and then turn around and then wash the dirty dishes. Nope. Okay? You sometimes have to train your customers to do stuff the way you want your system to work, and that's hard. Okay? The accounting industry is going through that now with having people being trained to go, hey, you're no longer dropping a box of receipts to me. You are going to digitally scan the stuff in, and then you're going to give it to me so I can wind up doing your reports, I can do your taxes, I can do everything for you. You're going to have some customers that look at you and go, no, I don't want to change the way I'm doing it. You need to do it my way because I'm the customer. Okay? Up to a certain point, listen to them. But if you're disrupting something, you're making a technological change, you're changing the way the flow happens, you got to stick to your guns. Okay? There's a guy that posts on LinkedIn about he has a practice now, and he goes to clients that when clients come to him, he's like, great, I'll take you on. You're going to pay $1,000 a month. You're going to upload the receipts here. You're going to give me access to your bank account so I can download your statements. You're going to do this. We're going to have 2 virtual meetings a month to answer any questions that go forward. And he's had some customers go, no, I want to give you these receipts in a box. I don't want to have to scan them. I want to meet you in person. I want to, this, that, and the other thing. Because this is the way I've always been doing it with every account I've had up to you. Okay? And you've got to sometimes walk away and go, no, you are not an ideal client for me based on what I have built. Therefore, you're off. Okay?
Could I tell you our philosophy?
Sure. Yep.
You never tell a client no. The the first offer was $1,000. You want me to do it your way? It's $3,000. If he walks, that's his problem.
Okay.
Okay. But you got because some will pay it.
Yep. Yep. So to that aspect, another take on what Lewis is saying is the ability to also
Pivot.
That's called a PITA tax.
that's an upgraded service.
Exactly.
The what? A PITA tax. Gluten-free tax. Paid in
Yes.
I knew.
Be a client. Yep.
inconvenience.
So from that aspect, your inconvenience fee. All right. So now I'm going to ask some people about your products. How someone might give an objection to using your product versus the way they used to do it before. Chad, you're in front. So okay.
Well, with mine, since we're really aimed at training, a lot of it says, the way we've been training forever is it's fine. I don't need all this other stuff. I can just have 2 of my sales agents role play against each other. It's like, well, yeah, you can, but now you're wasting 2 sets of time. They're not really taking it seriously. I mean, we've all done role play exercises with our coworkers, and after 5 minutes, it becomes a giggle fest and goofing off. So they're not really doing anything either. So yeah, you can keep doing that. You're going to keep getting the same results, or you can do it our way, use our product, and get actual results.
Yeah, so coaches love to say, I always say this is my number one competitor right there, and they're saying I can write it all down. I've got it on the whiteboard at home. My stats guy can write all their stats down. And then I've asked them, how many times have you left your notebook at home? And they go, oh my God, I can't tell you how many times. And what did you do? Oh, well, my wife just had to leave work, go pick it up, bring it to me. I said, exactly, coach, that's the problem. And when you leave, there's a 5-year discrepancy regarding that program, and neither of those suits you, the sport, or the kids. And that's why a lot of people want to go there.
Should we be selling to the library?
What's that?
New target market.
All right, Archie.
Well, in the world of gaming, what I'm doing is sort of going against pretty much everything. Everything now is online, and what I'm doing is like, hey, I want you to play with your kids, with your friends. So I know there'll be pushback, but once they play, for sure, they're just gonna tell their friends, and then their friends and friends and friends. So the pushback will be there. I'm prepping for it.
Good. All right. So before we go into LJ, how many people know what Loom is? Raise your hand. Okay. So everybody here should be able to use Loom. Okay. Your homework between now tomorrow and Friday, so I have the opportunity for the next 3 days, is I want you to look at your screen. If you have, most of you have an MVP that you're working with, I want you to pretend that you're sitting across from your ideal customer, okay? And you're like, hey, this is my solution. This is how you benefit. This is how you save money. This is how you succeed based on using my product, okay? Then put into it what it was that they were doing before and why that comparison is there, or who your competitor is that they're able to then go, oh, okay, well, instead of using them, this would be a better thing. For instance, like Joey, I joked around. His competitor is Home Depot and Lowe's, okay? You know, he can sit there and go, yes, instead of you going into Home Depot and Lowe's and walking away with 4 less digits, you can come and actually train and learn how to use the tools, okay? One of the things that a lot of people don't, have the opportunity sometimes is to be able to have somebody take a complicated thing and show them how to use it, okay? I went through that when I first met Joey because I didn't know how to use a welding tool or a plasma cutter. And I wanted to be an accountant that still had 10 toes and 10 fingers, okay? And after watching a whole lot of YouTube videos of accidents, I was like, I need to seek a professional to learn how to do this. So I met Joey. So for each one of you, okay, you need to get used to using Loom, sending it out there. The best part of Loom, it's an asymmetrical tool, okay? What this means, you make the video, you send it to somebody. They can ask questions, give you feedback at their leisure, okay? One of the things in running a company, okay, and I've dealt with this in my brick and mortar stores for the last 30 some odd years. Your priority is not other people's priority, okay? And you have got to understand that. Your sense of urgency isn't somebody else's sense of urgency unless you can get them to understand and join you in your mission, okay? So by you doing the Loom video and sending it out to somebody, you're then giving them the ability to do it at their convenience or when they can or when they can sit down and do it, okay? Yes?
So one of the things I've really struggled with is I've had coaches ask, one of the things I really struggle with is I've had coaches ask, well, can you just send me the demo? And I want to be very careful not to just allow them to use our platform because then they're going to convince themselves because they're coaches and not super technical that even though everything is just 2 clicks away, they've never seen it before, I don't want to use this, it's just another software. But then when I walk them through it, kind of get into their minds, it takes, 15, 20 minutes max to go through everything and they feel like they have ownership and they've bought in every time. It's just a question of, is my AD going to give me the money, blah, blah, blah. Something like Loom I've always shied away from for the coaches themselves because I'm not going to send them a 15-minute video because they're not going to watch 15 minutes.
They will. Send it to them. I do it all the time.
And they'll do it. They'll watch it.
You do what all the time?
I have a pre-recorded demo because you can't ever find youth sports coaches. I also have a product in the youth sports space. They're teachers during the day, or they have a job during the day, and then they're picking up their kids. They pick up other kids to bring into their practice. Then they go home and have dinner, and then they talk to their spouse, and then you can never get them on the phone. But they'll watch a Loom video at 11:30 at night when they're sitting in bed.
You gotta know who you're communicating with.
True.
Because I ain't watching it. Just write it down and tell me what you got to say. Or tell me how I can make a transcript of that 15-minute video. So, I mean, for some people, I'm sure it's great because they got a business, but you gotta know who you're communicating with. I mean, he sent me a 15-minute video the other day and I asked him to write it down.
And on that note, as far as what Tom was saying, making it convenient for people. And you're right. If you think that your Loom video is 15 minutes and that's way too long, okay? My advice is you do your 15-minute Loom video, okay? Send it to somebody in this class and go, okay, out of the 15 minutes you watched, give me 5 or 10 minutes that were the key points. What put you to sleep or you're like, okay, I don't need this, okay? Sometimes it's a matter of editing and tailoring, okay? You know, and John has had this conversation with me about tax titans. You know, I'll get into my spiel of what tax titans is. John's like, tell me it in one sentence. Don't make it too complicated, okay? I need to be able to digest it and understand it in like bubble gum, okay? Put it in my mouth, chew, flavor, great.
Most importantly, you need to be able to explain it to somebody else.
Yep.
So you explained it to me, and what the real important thing is what do I tell the next person?
Right.
Because
So,
that's what the brand is.
correct. And you want to, the best sales, marketing price that you could ever have is having somebody use your product and then go to somebody else in the same industry that is the same thing and go, I use this thing, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Now, what are they gonna say? That's so important.
Yep.
What are they gonna say?
If they say this is cumbersome, this is,
No,
this,
that's not what I mean. I mean, I'm talking about the vocabulary. They're gonna say, this is great, it did. And whatever it is they say, that's your brand.
The fact you said, who's used food before, and every one of us goes, yeah, I know what that is, whether, you know, we just watched a video, or I've never recorded a video, I mean, I know what it does.
right. And that's the thing. So you want people to take a look at your product, whatever that name is, and they equate it to whatever, okay? I've got like 3 different things I got going on in Tax Titans, and John was just like, hey, you just need to say it's marketplace. Everybody can make their own inferences from there, but it is just marketplace. Okay, great. Each one of you has got to go through that same type of discovery. I've been doing it for 3 years, and we're like, okay, we need to kind of rebrand it so we're just the accounting marketplace. Okay?
But one shoe doesn't fit everybody. I mean, you're talking to younger coaches. They're more technically involved. I mean, I have young clients, they have no problem doing remote tax preparation. I have old clients that have flip phones. How do they take pictures of their documents on a flip phone? Right? So they will always be coming in, and sad to say, they will die out. That's how I'll get rid of them. You know, but then the younger people coming in, you know, it's not, that's literally, you know, that's what will happen with them. They will stop coming in, you know, and so you make a video for X percentage, you have a document for another percentage, you know who you're talking to, like you said, and that's who you give that pathway to.
It's a new meaning to death taxes, by the way.
Yeah.
And you can always make different videos.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
depending, do you want the 5-minute version or the 10-minute version?
Or 2 minutes.
All right, LJ's up.
Yeah, so I guess like the biggest objection is like, yeah, I want to know, again, it's an assessment platform in math classes, colleges, but the teachers want to know, yeah, I do love the idea of being able to see how my students are doing in the classroom, but I don't have enough time to do that in a 50-minute span. And I guess what I should be saying is like the, you know, feedback to that objection is like, well, how do you get to that student who goes home, uses AI for homework, and then still fails, but doesn't come to office hours and say, hey, you know, this is an opportunity with QuillNote to catch that student who's going to go home and use AI and get them back on track. So that's how
Yep.
I'm trying to face that.
Jeff, you're up.
So I think the objection to the platform that I have would be, I can search for the results myself. Families say, well, I can just Google whatever, and then gamers say I can Google whatever. With families, okay, you might miss that thing, but with the platform, it's personalized. They get a personalized when they sign up for the subscription, so they get a personalized, hey, this event's going on, so they know ahead of time. With gamers, by the time they find the game, or even if they do find the game will be over. So that would be my thing to them. You get that personalized, so you can plan it ahead of time and get it going. So that would be.
Thomas.
So we have the 3 different kind of user groups in our product. So for healthcare professionals, there are some people that are contract-based.
Yep.
So they're looping more often through the onboarding cycle. Then there are people that just have 20-year careers at a hospital. So the objection was, yeah, it's great, but I don't want to pay this much. So we just created a slimmed-down version of that at a lower price point that allowed them just to have their profile for one job. They couldn't do multiple. If they ever need a new job, they could upgrade and do that. The staffing agencies, the biggest objection was, hey, I'm gonna give you all of my people, and the minute I screw up their payroll, it's gonna be easy for them to go find another job, so how can I keep them to me? My answer to that was, don't screw up their payroll. Number one rule, don't screw up the payroll. But we did come up with an option where if they onboard people who aren't already in our system, they get access to them for a certain amount of time without their profile being public. Unless that person finds us and pays separately. And then for hospitals, obviously, they don't want another system, they already have 12. So we decided just to be a data integrator to hospitals. So we'll figure out what systems they have and we'll just feed our data in rather than giving them another platform to train people on and object to bringing into their system. So, something like that.
All right, now, we're gonna start transitioning, so we're over half the class. We've got about 6 weeks left, and then, for lack of a better term, you're graduates, and you're off and doing stuff on your own. From that standpoint, okay, we're now gonna say, all right, you built your MVP. Based on everybody's feedback and stuff, people are talking to customers, getting customers, getting them, to use the platform, whether to sign up or exchange money or make contracts and stuff. Everybody's in a different part of this. Now, here's the next, hurdle that every tech startup, and I say tech because this is the one thing that's different than I would call the brick and mortar stores that I've done for the last 30 years, okay? I have owned gaming stores, staffing companies, gaming shops, and fencing schools, okay? My biggest expense in all of these places is the building that I'm in or the inventory that I'm having in order to serve the customers. So I'm not having to build a platform, okay? So in building my Tax Titans platform, I was like, hey, if I'm gonna have something to build, my cost was basically going to be 300 grand. Unfortunately, I opened my wallet, 300 grand wasn't in there. I didn't have a rich relative, I didn't have any way to do that. So I needed to go rattle the cages and try to raise money from people that had money that wanted to invest in an idea that might scale, okay? Tech is the only thing that can scale astronomically, literally overnight. Now, it's much like gambling in Vegas, okay? You're rolling dice, you're playing cards. I could put $50,000 on the table, get blackjack, make $100,000. And that transaction took all of 20 seconds, okay? Tech is one of the few things that you can do to do that, okay? I come from a staffing background, so I know that like Monster, when they came into Robert Half in 1998 and said, hey, we've got a new way for people to get jobs, the people at Robert Half, which is the largest staffing firm in the world, laughed at them and said, no one's going to stop using a newspaper. Get out of our office. Well, we all know what happened to newspapers, okay? So that's where you're at. Now, everybody's talked about doing a pitch deck. You can find pitch decks from Airbnb and from Uber and everything on YouTube. People's going to tell you what are a great pitch deck to be able to do that. The one thing that was surprising to me that VCs asked for and that investors asked for that I didn't know existed or what they were are what are called one-pagers. How many people know what a one-pager is? Raise your hand. Okay, you guys knew a lot more than I did. So in the Circle app is the one-pager that Morris Manning and Martin gave me and said, hey, if you're going to go raise money and we're going to represent you, you need to fill this out, okay? So Morris Manning and Martin, kind of one of the largest tech firms on the East Coast for law, okay? Take a look at that template, see what you're using as a one-pager, and be able to do that. Understand people that you're talking to be able to raise money. William, how many pitch decks do you get emailed a day?
A day? I mean, 10 would be a low number, but I've gotten 80, 90, 100 a day before.
Okay.
It's a lot.
And you have...
Not a big deal.
Right. and you have a young child at home, Liam, okay? So, so from that aspect, it's like him setting all that time during the day to go over a 12, he was like, well, it's only 12 slides. Yeah, multiplied by 10 or 20 or 30 other people talking for money. having that one pager allows him to go, okay, I really don't want to go through this deck, I'll go through the one pager. If the one pager looks good, then I'll go to the deck. Okay?
Or send it to Lee.
Or send it to Liam, right? Liam, pick one! Okay. So, okay, on that note, how many people out here with your startup and stuff have already started pitching people to try to raise money? 1, 2, okay. 3. 2 and a half. Okay. All right. So that gets into the whole aspect of next is, all right, you've got to explain to an investor who doesn't know you in the short time that you're there with your deck as to why you're the person who's going to solve this problem or why this problem is so prevalent that there needs to be a solution. Okay? So from that aspect, I'm going to go through everybody in the room and you're going to kind of tell me, okay, you know, why is somebody going to want to invest in my idea and what is the upscale that the impact of this solution could have? No. It's like I'm never sitting in the front row yet.
Only every week. Yeah, so for Radia, can I ask something?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Yes, please do.
He is happy to hand over the microphone.
Chad gets
So
more
the
time.
question is not selling your product. The question is why they're going to buy a piece of your business.
There you go.
And go.
Okay. For Radia, why someone would buy a piece of our business, invest in us, is basically we're kind of bringing in a whole different viewpoint and data set for training. Right now, in corporate training, even the best systems that are out there, the feedback is limited. You might be able to take some tests, you might be able to have some qualitative, one-on-ones, but there's no real objective standard. By using our product, not only are your employees getting, I'm sorry, I'm going into the wrong pitch. I apologize. So basically, if we're giving companies the opportunity to kind of buy into the next level of training and feedback on that with objective results. There's a huge market in that's already existing for corporate training. We're coming in at a different angle. I don't have a really good answer for that one, so that's kind of where I'm at.
So, as an investor, you may or may not care about your local high school basketball coach winning more, but what you do care about is where your dollars go and the impact those dollars have. And what Locker Room is able to do is not only multiply those dollars in the software that we sell, but also in the data that we collect from high school basketball coaches. That information is not just relevant to them, it's relevant to the students that are playing it, it's relevant to the parents that want to see those students go off and play at the college level, and it's relevant to the community and the sponsors in that community who want to not only support their local high school athletic programs, but also want to see their business supported and willing to pay to reach those markets. And so essentially, what you're investing in is not the software, you're investing in the information that software is collecting and organizing.
Not everyone at once. Somebody grab the mic. And one of the things that John brought up that you got to also remember is you're going to have different pitches. You got pitches to the people who are using your product, and then like John said, you're making a pitch to VC and people who are investing in your company. Okay? You know, the fact that you have customers and you know the market you're serving is great. Being able to explain to investors why they should invest in your company, that's a whole different pitch. B. No.
Oh, sorry, John.
So to address the question you raised over there, so the most successful thing that I did was be the lead investor of Earth Fair. And, half our customers were vegetarians. So when we went into a new city, and vegetarians were about 5% of the population. So we went into a new city, the question is not how do we find 5% of the grocery customers. The question is how do we find 100% of the vegetarians. So this is the piece we're going to own. I've been talking to Blake about tax titles. However many 100,000 accountants are in the United States, that's really not the question. The question is, what segment of those are interested in participating in this marketplace with other accountants? So as y'all were talking about the business you're going to invest in, if it was me, I would frame it, this is the segment that loves what we do, and we're gonna own that. And that's what you're investing in.
Archie.
So talking about segment, the co-op gain is only 6% of all gaming. We're going after the 100% of those. Why would you want to invest in this company? Number one, if this shit scales, I don't even think I'll be able to count how much money will come in. I need an accountant. Two, the way that I'm doing it is different from how it's traditionally done in the gaming industry, which is you come to work 9 to 5, so on and so on. We are keeping the costs extremely low for what we're doing, and it all comes down to my experience working in the gaming industry, how not to do it, how to make games that are visually appealing but not fun at all. So we're focusing on fun first, then the visual appeal and all that stuff. But if the game is not fun, I'm not even doing it. So 100% sure that what I'm building is fun, it's gonna sell, and maybe I'm delusional, but I got plans for this thing to grow into some other things that I want to say here, but yeah, just gonna keep going.
Okay, and on that note, so you're gonna go down, and Lewis had this experience last week, so I'm building a product, I've got a customer, and then as I'm doing something, I'm now faced with do I pivot or do I continue down the road that I'm currently on? Okay. So there's an old Hungarian saying that says, no matter how far down the wrong road that I'm going, stop. Go back to the beginning and start over. Because if I go 4, 5, 10 miles down the road, it's still the wrong path, okay? If I take another 2 or 3 or 4 years developing my startup and it doesn't get the traction and the response that I want, it's the wrong road. Doesn't matter how much money I throw at it, doesn't matter how many people work on that product, it's the wrong road. Okay.
One thing on that, because that was something that was really hard for me, is this concept. I feel like, especially the more you know entrepreneurship, the more comfortable or uncomfortable you get with this concept of the pivot. And we've talked about that a lot. And I saw a comment, and I can't remember who said it, but it was this concept of each interview is a data point. And now in your case, it sounds like that data point represented maybe 10,000 data points of all the software and things that they've seen. But again, that's just a data point. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to a coach, and it's been very clear that they just had a shitty day and they never cared about the product. And so I think that was something, and I would encourage, for me what helped me the most was this concept of sprints. Is I committed after a certain amount of time, I'm going to spend a week or 2 weeks making this the best possible MVP, and then I'm going to talk to coaches, even if I talk to no one, but spend all day reaching out to coaches. I'm going to commit to at least a week of trying to talk to people before I go back and completely scrap everything that I've been working on. Otherwise, I can't tell you how many times I've had a conversation with a coach literally the day after making a sale that says, this isn't useful, I would never pay for it, and I really think that you'd be better off in, whatever. And so I say that just because I think that's one of the things that, especially when you're working on it alone, it's very easy to get lost and then to lose genuine progress, thinking that you're down the wrong road.
Right. And from that standpoint, when we launched Tax Titans in the very beginning, and we were onboarding our tax professionals, we had it so that one of the guys on the team was doing a once a week Zoom meeting with everybody that's on the platform. And what we found out is it wasn't that people didn't want the solution. It was the fact that there were other problems that were more prevalent that they were giving to us that they wanted solved. Okay? So if you're in an industry and you're doing something and people give you what the quote unquote what they're willing to pay for, don't be so in love with your solution that you're willing to ignore what somebody's telling you that they're willing to pay for, okay? You know, that old saying, all babies are ugly, okay? So from that aspect, okay, if they're telling you what they're going to pay for, and you're passionate about that industry or the market, then, okay, you know, do some more customer discovery of, okay, is this the same with all the other high school coaches, or the other medical people, or hospitals, or somebody that's, you know, looking to, you know, get some training in whatever it is the subject they're looking at, so I think go from there. All right.
I just want to say on my thing though, I'm in a very unique position because this guy that I spoke to has seen my bigger system that I've been writing for 20-something. He knows that system. We've pitched it to him several times, at least my boss has. But he wants no part of my boss. So he's looking at me to build the system away from there, and he's an expert in it. So his data point isn't the grouchy coach. It's, hey Lou, I know the service bureaus out there. There's no product here. I want you to work on getting them that product, not a duplication of that. So it's a little different. I just wanted to.
So would he be the distribution,
He'd be-
distribution channel for you? So that's a different qualitative data point.
Yeah, he knows those clients, and those are the guys that would pay for it. They're the ones with the money.
So we have the unique opportunity to, from someone's professional standpoint, have them from cradle to grave. So we could get them from nursing school or medical school and take them all the way through retirement. And so there's a lot of life events, a lot of things that happen along the way that will be tentacles from our business that we can tap into. And we're also, with a click of a button, essentially able to take this into other markets. So whether it's finance, you know, Dan, one of the mentors, is already scheming how to take this into a different industry. And I already have that built. So it's just learning the rules and kind of requirements from the employers, and we already have the technology to take this into other industries from day one.
So that's scale. Yeah,
Yep.
that's what an investment can right there too.
Can I ask a question? So, one of the things, I just went to a friend's birthday party, and yeah, it's embarrassing to say they're trying to sell me on financial planning. I was like, yeah, I have no finances. They're like, well, if you held these shares, you know, I was like, well, the shares are worthless right now. But I appreciate the confidence. But no, have you tried, because what they essentially just go around to every PA school and med school that they can to talk to their cohorts and sell it, and they've made so much money off of that because they are that captive audience. Is that where you're onboarding most of your users, and then all of a sudden the employers go, oh wow, you're on this profile? Like, if I were an employee, a future employee, just got out of med school, could I hand over your profile without using your platform to a hospital and then use the same information, the same data, just organized? It wouldn't obviously integrate, but could they not just pull the information from that profile?
They don't have profiles. It's crazy. We've talked to nursing schools, and they don't have to start tracking this information until they start their rotations. And so, Ina, one of my mentors outside of Launchpad, owns a nursing school, runs 3 or 4 nursing schools, and she wants to implement this and teach the students from day one how to create their profile, is what we were talking about, right? The importance of having that up to date, but then giving them our tool so that every checkpoint along the way, they're updating their profile so that when they enter the workforce, it's not a catch-up game.
Yeah.
Right? It's here, go get my stuff here, and they're training people on how to do that to save themselves time and not have to distribute it 15 times, right? And do 15 different processes. We'll handle that on the back end by working with the employers, you know, but they're going to go out and say, here's my profile and am I compliant? It's 100% up to date all the time.
So they're coming with a clean Carfax report, basically.
Yeah, and teaching them from day one, right, that this is how you do this is how you treat this important part of your professional career, right, keeping your profile up to date. LJ.
Well, what I would say is, you as an investor may not specialize in exec, but you definitely are looking to improve America's competitiveness against China or other countries. And let's be honest, training the next generation of students, we're failing them because, again, we're struggling with math, we're struggling with a lot of different things. So with our opportunity with QuillNote and making faster feedback, whether doesn't matter who we target to first, but at the end of the day, I would say that if a tutor sees this and is like, oh my gosh, this is great, this is
So who's gonna say that? That's my question. Somebody's gonna say, wow, this is great. Who's gonna say that? Because that's who you're looking for.
right. So who do I need to focus on class?
Yeah, you need to own those people, right? You need to own that part of the market. Those people that say, wow, I love what you're doing.
Right, yeah, that starts off with the pilots this fall. That starts off with seeing how it goes with the 15-minute classrooms, and how it goes in the labs. So, if everything goes well, all we gotta do is just work with those teachers, they'll refer us to other teachers, next thing you know, we're in the whole math department, we'll refer other departments. We'll just,
Okay, now, next thing that you need to be able to do with investors, from my experience, in talking to William and other folks that I've talked to, John included, is you need to know the numbers, okay? If I'm an investor and I look at you and go, great, you know what? I'm looking and I'm saying, hey, I'm willing to write $100,000, $200,000, maybe even a $300,000 check. Tell me how you get to $10 million in 5 years. What has to go right? How are you ready to overcome obstacles? What obstacles are you anticipating that you're going to run into with your go-to-market strategy? But if you and your team are diligent, persistent, and have the answers, how do you get to $10 million? If you can't, from Foundry University, they call it the bottom-up TAM, be able to tell me how you get to $10 million in 5 years from the customer's perspective and how you scale, then I, as an investor, go, you're not prepared to take my money. I want to know if I deploy the money to you, that you're going to use it in a responsible way to get to that $10 million. Then, if everything is going well, do you have enough technical competence, know the market enough, that if everything goes right, you can get to $100 million? Because if you can't sit in a 5-minute conversation with somebody that has the ability to write you $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 or more to get you to where you need to be, okay, then you need to take a look and you need to come up with that answer, okay? How many people in 2 minutes can tell me how their company gets to $10 million in 5 years? Raise your hand. I got 2, 3, okay? Everybody in this room needs to be that comfortable talking about those types of numbers, okay? Now, me trying to raise 2 or 3 or 4 or $10 million, that seemed astronomical until I basically wound up going into Foundry University, okay? Because this was the stage. I go through a 12-week program. If I'm part of the top 10%, they give me a check for 25 grand. Okay, great. 25 grand is to some people a lot of money, some people not so much. But that 25 grand then allowed them to go, okay, what does he do with this 25 grand? And if he does and meets certain benchmarks, then they go, hey, we want you to be in this accelerator program. And then they give me another $150,000. And then they give me some benchmarks. If I hit those benchmarks, then they bring me into what is called the Launch Syndicate. There's what, 11,000 people? There's 11,000 people that are on this Zoom call that basically Jason Calacanis goes, hey, I've already invested $175,000. This is this guy's thing. This is how he gets to 10 million. This is how he gets to 100 million. How many people want to jump on this bandwagon like I did? Those people only write checks for $2, $3, maybe $5,000. But do the math. If 11,000 of them, 5,000 of them write those checks, I've just raised $5, $7, $8 million. This might seem like a pipe dream or fairy tale dust that I'm telling you. I watched it happen to literally 3 of the people that I was in the cohort with a year and a half ago. So you can talk as far as being part of the syndicate when they kind of do that pitch, because I haven't been in it yet. So
I mean, so the column map went through Founders University. Yeah, the column map went through Founders University. They've raised $50 million or so since then. But the best part is they are, I think, 80 million in revenue now. So that's what they did with the $50 million. And if you can do that, people will gladly give you $50 million checks.
Right.
But they started off with a $25,000 check, exactly the same as he did.
And every one of you has that same opportunity here. You go through this 12 weeks, we have all of your information, you've gone through the same thing. I then take and then flip it over to them. They take a look at you. You don't have to be, you don't have to get the $25,000 check to be part of their accelerator. Okay? You could be somebody that's never been exposed to, never done anything at Foundry University, be introduced to them, and they can put you through the accelerator. You don't have to go through the accelerator to have them pitch you to the syndicate, but you have to sell them on what you've done, what your pedigree is, kind of where you're coming from, what you're doing, and why.
You're starting to get into where warm intros become very important.
Yeah.
You actually, Tax Titans had an interview with Jason for direct investment from the Launchpad, like way back.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
And our biggest problem then is one of the things that I covered with you guys. They were like, wow, this is a great idea, this is a problem that's out there, so on and so forth. And they were like, great, how are you organized? I'm like, well, I'm an LLC. It's like what? It's like, you just told me this is a great, yeah, you're an LLC. Like, do not pass go, do not collect $200. That's it. That was the end of the interview. So, and as many deals as they see, as many deals as you guys see, okay, that you're competing against, okay, just that one little thing can wind up, keeping you from achieving the goal that you want. Dan currently has some people going through the venture studio. Okay, they made a decision to go in a certain way, and Dan, if you want to kind of talk without revealing any names of how that kind of stymied them.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm just sure there's a point about your legal structure. Yeah, VCs really do care how you're structured, because it does two things. One, it gives you the flexibility and the ability to scale and have a virtually unlimited number of investors. The C-Corp does. But it also signals that you're planning to grow and that you expect to scale. And so when you do something like in the case of something that I'm invested in, the owners wanted to get a short-term tax benefit of switching back to an S-Corp. It not only signals that they're not structured to scale, but that they're not serious about scale. They're trying to take a short-term tax benefit instead of a long-term, also tax benefit, but ability to return.
So which gets to the last part we're going to talk about is begin with the end in mind, okay? We talked about this in the first couple of classes of knowing what your exit is, what you want to do. Some of you want to have your company and you want to go to the grave with it. You want to leave it to your kids, it's going to be your legacy, it's going to be 3 or 4 generations, you're going to be the next Rockefeller. Great. If that is not the case, okay, and you're going to go raise money and you're trying to build a business and you're trying to get, investment from other folks, they need to know how they're going to get their money back, okay? If you're not ready to have that conversation, okay, then don't go try to raise money, okay?
I'll give you guys a quick analogy for the C-Corp thing. So when you are raising money, we keep talking about how you're selling equity, right? You're essentially selling shares. And if you're not a C-Corp, then it's not clear how you're going to produce the shares that you're selling to someone. It would be kind of like if you were a great customer of the Hershey's chocolate bar company. And one day Hershey's came to you and said, hey, you're a great customer. We love dealing with you. Would you like to buy one of our cars? And you were like, you guys make cars? And they said, no. But we've got a factory. It doesn't make cars either. But if you pay now and pre-order one of our cars, we might build the factory. to build cars. Maybe. That's kind of what an investor hears when you say you're raising money as an LLC, and you want them to give you money on something like a safe, which has no guarantees of ever issuing shares. And in addition to that, you also don't even have the ability to issue shares. So yeah, you don't have to be an LLC or a C Corp to have a great company and to be very successful. But you do need it to raise money from venture capital in general.
All right.
What about angel investors? Because I've heard both sides.
Well, I have two people here that can give you all kinds of questions about angel investors. So we'll let John go first.
You asked, I mean, who asked that question? Okay, spot on. All right, we get a bunch of individuals together, and we're all going to invest in this. I would suggest it's a limited liability company. And the reason is, it's going to lose money in the near term, and that is going to flow through to our income tax return. We can deduct the losses, and that's one of the things we're investing in, right? That ability to save some taxes along the way. One of the reasons a venture capital fund doesn't like that structure is because they're probably a limited partnership themselves, so you're going to give them losses, and then their investors are people like pension funds and insurance companies, and that flow through is something called non-business taxable income, and it makes their tax return really complicated. So what they say is, we ain't doing that, you got to be a C Corp, and the reason is you don't have this tax complexity going forward. It's not right or wrong, it just is, and it's kind of back to who's your customer, in this case, who's your investor, right? If it's a bunch of individuals, they're going to love the tax losses. If it's a venture fund, they're going to say, no way, we won't do that, because it just makes our world, so much more complex.
And it does depend a little bit on the type of angel investor you're going after. If you're going to be able to raise from angels and go straight into business, and you don't need more money after that, then yes, an LLC, it acts as a pass-through entity and other tax advantages. Generally, I'm going to be investing in companies that I want to see reach $1 billion or more. And so I want to know that you can raise money from venture capitalists after you've left me. I don't want my money to be all the money that you need. So yeah, generally I'm going to be looking for a C Corp, mainly because yes, I want your company to continue to be fundable.
Could I not raise $100 grand from you and then convert to a C Corp after?
He did it. So yes.
I'll tell you what my advice is, a little bit different than him. My advice is when he comes along and he wants a C Corp convert, you're an LLC until then. When somebody comes and brings you a check and says, I will write you a check if you'll be a C Corp, and he convert.
Yeah, I mean that's actually what I did with him. And when he started Secondhand Geek, which is the Calicanis funding thing.
Yep.
The first time I talked to him, I was like, look, I'm going to give you $1,200, but don't spend it on anything else. Just go make a C Corp right away. Because you're going to talk, I'm not putting you in touch with Jason. Just go make your C Corp.
And having had Jason tell me no to the tax titans thing, because I was an LLC, I was like, you know what? I'm going to prepare myself for success as much as possible. Okay? I'm going to do the Secondhand Geek, just do it straight as a C Corp, and it turned out great. I mean, I went in, 300 people went through it, they took 50 of us, and they handed us checks. I was like, holy crap.
Well, because the reason I asked about this, I'm sorry, I forget the reason.
No, you're good.
But the reason I asked about this is, like, for example, say I went to, the match day this year, and I was looking for, I saw you guys there.
Yep.
But really, I was just trying to shop around and see if I wanted to go the VC route, the angel route, whatever else. And then, but I'm not necessarily going to convert at the hope that, and lose this whole next year's tax advantage at the hope that I'm going to raise money when I may or may not even go with a VC. So how do you engage in conversations where it's very clear that your signal willingness to convert, I can do it in a month's time, and not lose the conversation that you did with Jason?
I think, part of like what John was saying is you had that intelligent conversation. You say, I am currently an LLC because where we're in our stage, I'm able to do pass-through losses to the small amount of angel people that can get that benefit. However, when we reach enough scale or I need to raise enough funds, you know, I have, we'll say Nelson Mullins, I'll give him a pass because I beat them up yesterday, to be able to say, and we've already set it up so that when we go to raise X amount of money, we're going to convert into a C Corp so that we can go that way.
Babe, you're correct, and John also correct, that angel investors are less sensitive to this issue. Generally, like I said, I usually like to see that you are either an LLC, I mean a C Corp, or willing to convert to a C Corp because I want you to raise more money after me. That gives me an IRR, which is meaningless for me, but you know, it looks good. Yeah, I want you to be able to take that money, make more money, and not have to ask me for money every round. Yeah, at the beginning, being a C Corp, yeah, the angel investors are going to be less sensitive to it. VCs are very sensitive to it. So it depends on how much money you need and who you need to raise it from. And if you're independently wealthy, and this is your second startup, you don't have to worry about this kind of stuff. But yeah, there's not a definite right answer as to whether or not you should or can be an LLC or C Corp and do this. The main thing would be you need to be able to defend your decision as to which corporate structure you go with.
All right, on that note,
Sorry, like one question. How does the opportunity zone change that, or?
the opportunity zone doesn't change that either way. No matter what, you could be a sole proprietor as a DBA in an opportunity zone.
So that wouldn't change the strategy?
The only thing with the opportunity zone, when you're filing your taxes at the end of the year, it's the 89, 98 or whatever is the form, make it clear, that you file with your business's tax return, that the IRS goes, you meet the requirement, your clock has started, you're now in an opportunity zone, 10 years, 5 years, 7 years, depending what it is.
I'm just saying.
Oh, got it. So that how you are structured legally doesn't have any effect with an opportunity zone. All right, going into throughout between now and next week, things that everybody needs to write down, need to do. Okay, everybody needs to do a recommendation or an endorsement of somebody else that's in this class, at least one other person on LinkedIn. Okay, you need to learn how to do endorsements and ask for endorsements. Okay. 2, everybody needs to do a Loom video, and you need to do the Loom video that is pitching your ideal customer and doing a pitch to an investor of why they should invest in you. Okay. All right.
Can I reiterate? The one-pagers, the game is next Thursday. I would like to have them. If it's within your scope to do that.
Okay, the one-pager she's talking about is your description, not the one-pager for the financial guy.
Nope.
Okay.
And bios, those of you who have not turned them in, you need to have those. And please, if you have the availability, to mark the baseball game for next Thursday, the
Next
28th.
Thursday evening is the game at Forfield. So,
And last thing, I'm starting to line up people for the podcast. Please reach out to me on Circle if you're interested in being on the podcast.